Are we on?
Yes, we're here.
Happy Wednesday. My name is Bev. This is Erin. I'm going to put our names up. We're live, I think. Yes. So if you're here with us, say hello. Today we're going to talk about budgeting for personal trainers or fitness professionals, but really budgeting is something that everyone can benefit from. So if you know anyone who likes money or likes having money, invite them to join us because they will benefit. We're going to talk about how budgeting can help you have more money, like seriously. So
Definitely.
how are you doing today, Erin?
I'm good. How are you? You're here.
All right. Yeah.
I'm a little disorganized today, people. Please don't judge. We're moms. It happens.
The Ideal World Convention's coming up in 3 or 4 weeks, and I am just chugging along, getting ready for that sucker. Yep. So crazy. A year ago, we were doing the show on the Ideal World Convention. So
yeah, that was our first episode. So
here we are, episode 46. So let's talk about, let me go ahead and practice what I preach here. I'm going to share Facebook, Twitter, see if anyone wants to join us, talk about money. If not, maybe you'll watch the episode afterwards. But yeah, we're going to talk about budgeting. So like budgeting, money, all that stuff, it's not usually an attractive topic. It's, most personal trainers or most people don't start their own business because they love keeping track of their money or like dealing with money. Most people start their own business because they have a passion and because they want to earn money. And the thing is that when it comes to earning money, it's kind of like losing weight. Like you can't just focus on the end goal of losing weight or the end goal of having money. You have to focus on all the little things that add up to it. And one of the things that helps you have more money is budgeting. It's a secret that most wealthy people and financially stable people know to be true. And Erin, you're frozen on me, girl.
Oh, I am?
There you go. Now you're back to life.
Maybe I'll do a refresh real quick and see.
Okay. So anyway, that's kind of like, that's why is budgeting valuable? Budgeting, again, it just doesn't sound like fun. But budgeting, again, is kind of like the best way I can compare it for personal trainers. It's kind of like when you're having your clients track what they're eating or track their weights or keep track of anything that they're keeping track of to reach that end goal. And so budgeting is very much that. And so that's why budgeting is important. If anyone has any other reasons budgeting is important, feel free to throw them out there. And Erin, I'd love to hear anything else you have to say about why budgeting is important, even if it's repetitive since you disappeared.
Well, yeah, I only caught part of it. So, but yeah, I mean, it's important because it costs money to live. Who doesn't need money? You have certain responsibilities and certain investments. So your business is one of those. And there are tax benefits, but there are also tax consequences if you don't do it right. So it's critically important for the foundation of your business. You need to, sometimes you have to invest in that endeavor or that adventure if you're ever going to make any money. But I think sometimes people can get in trouble with over investing. They take on a debt load that they can't actually afford to lose. Yeah. And I think that's where budgeting, and, we've talked about this in previous episodes with business plans, is that's a piece of it. The budget is a piece of a business plan. Yeah. And how you lay that out is important. And if you don't, then you run the risk of overextending yourself and basically over promising and under delivering. And that's not what you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, I agree with all that. And I think some of the first steps with budgeting, there's a lot of first steps you can take, but one that pops into my mind is just starting to monitor your habits to begin with. So kind of like when you start with a new client and you might have them just track, like, or on a health history form, you usually say, how many days are you exercising? What are you doing for exercise? What are you eating? And just kind of seeing what's going on to begin with. So just keeping track of what you're spending money on will give you a clue into what you're already doing. And when you see what you're already doing, I think then it comes pretty natural to you to see like, oh, wow, I didn't realize I was spending so much on this or spending so much on that. And once you have a picture of what you're currently doing for like a month or two, which you could go back and do it, take an hour and go back through your old credit card statements or your bills. Then once you have that picture, then you can start doing the more fun stuff, which is like deciding what do I want to be spending money on? Because Like, we only have so much money to spend. And so it's like, okay, if I want to spend money on some new equipment for my business, or I want to buy a new workout outfit, or I want to go on a trip, then we first have to say, where is that money going that we're earning? And are we allocating it? Like, is the money that's coming in and what we're spending it on aligned with our bigger goals? Because if, getting a Starbucks $4 coffee every day is not going to get you to go on your vacation, then it's not really a great thing to spend money on. You can make that coffee at home and save the money for the vacation.
Right. Yeah.
So just starting off by keeping track, and then having those goals in mind. And then, of course, I threw a blog in the comments about keeping track of your expenses. If you want to read that and kind of tap in a little more on exactly how to keep track of your expenses, but just in general, taking a look at it. Like, I think I've mentioned on the show before, every month I look at everything. My husband and I both look at everything we've spent for the month. And at first it was like kind of eye-opening and we had to tighten things up. And now it's just become more natural to like know, oh, I really shouldn't spend money on that, because when I spend money on that, it adds up over the month, and I'd rather save that money for something else.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that trips people up about budgeting is that the overwhelming nature of one, the word, it's a budget. So we automatically think budget means restriction. And I think that's it's a shift in mindset, just like anything in health. It's kind of convincing your mind. And so, yeah, when we're on a budget, it's always used in a context that isn't so inviting and fun and, promising or goal achieving. And so I think that's one of the things that people freak out about. And that's why they don't want to talk about it, is I don't want to see how little money I actually have, or instead of looking at it as a tool that's going to help you achieve that larger goal or several smaller goals on the way to that larger goal. It's a tool is really what it is. It's, similar to having workout equipment. I mean, as a personal trainer, you've got to have access to craft these workouts and train individuals, train your clients. So the budget is just a tool. But it does, for some reason, have that kind of semi-negative connotation.
Yeah, it does.
That becomes hard.
Yeah, and it's funny because, it can feel, like what you said, it can feel restrictive, but it can also be like the path to enlightenment for you. Like, you might be stressing about how little money is in your bank account or whatever, and then you go and sit down and look at your expenses for the month or whatever. And by working on it, it will get better. And it's the same thing. It's like when someone's dreading a body fat test. They're like, oh gosh, I don't want to see what the results are going to be. And it's like, well, the results could either be good and reinforcing, or they could be negative. But if they're negative, they tell you something, and then they give you a path for change. And without that, you're not going to get where you want to go. Unless you acknowledge whatever the issue is with your finances.
Right. And it's a tool, and it's also an accountability measure.
Yeah.
They can get very easy, especially if you're a single business owner and maybe it's, an LLC, or you don't have a partner, it's not a corporation or anything like that. It's up to you. Yeah. You're like a one-man show. And that's a heavy load, which means you shoulder the burden of the business, and I don't mean burden as in negative. It's just a phraseology. It's just what we say. But you're the one that carries that, and you're responsible for it. And so I think, it can be very easy to get lost in the day-to-day. Like you are that fitness professional, you have these clients, and that's your responsibility. But the business piece, maybe not as fun initially, it's still part of your responsibility. So it can be that accountability tool for you as well, to be able to come back and say, oh, okay, this is where I'm not allocating enough for continuing education. Mm-hmm. And if I'm going to grow my business, I need to spend less here, bring in more here, and funnel that money towards that line item or whatever. Yeah. But it's accountability.
Yeah, absolutely. And so some like other just budgeting basics, there's the keeping track of your expenses. So something that I do is I keep track of everything I spend every month in a spreadsheet, and it goes into categories so that I can see. And then you can keep track of your income, which I'll throw a blog in the comments for that. So if you want to learn more about those things, we're not going to dive into them today, but you can read those blogs. And then beyond that, really what it is, when you take a look at your expenses and you see, all right, I'm spending $1,000 a month on food, just for argument's sake, it's a nice easy number. And you're like, I wonder if I could get myself to spend 800 instead of 1,000, And so that budgeting is very much like a negotiation process where it's like, if I were to spend 800 instead of 1,000 every month, I'd have 200 every month left over, which means at the end of the year, I'd have $2,400. $2,400 is a nice chunk of change for a vacation right there. So it's not like I'm telling you to eat less, but maybe you can cut back on your food spending a little bit. And then another example from what I've learned myself with budgeting is like, I always feel kind of guilty if I'm gonna like go get a massage or do something that's self-care oriented. So something I've established for myself is $100 a month that there's no questions asked. And that's not something I was able to do in the beginning of my career because I didn't have $100 a month. But now I'm able to do that where $100 a month, no questions asked, no guilt. I can use it on whatever I want. I can go get a massage. I could spend it on new clothing. And I have a clothing budget too. But if I want extra, I could pull that $100. And if I want to save the $100 for 2 months to do something exciting, then do that. Or if I want to go on a vacation, I could save it for the whole year. So it's like budgeting can include this money that's like specific for a certain task, like spend $500 a year on clothing or $1,000 a year on clothing or whatever. And then once you've reached your limit, you've reached your limit. And what's amazing about that is sometimes it helps you make more honed in on decisions. Like instead of just like buying this and buying that, you're like, I only have this much. So what do I really want?
And what do I really need? I think there's always that battle about like that. I really want that, but do I need it?
Yeah.
So understanding the difference there. And I think not forgetting to pay yourself.
Yeah.
As a business owner, and I'm guilty of it. Like I just, I'll get the income, but then I don't actually cut myself a check. So don't forget to pay yourself. You deserve a salary too. It doesn't all have to go back towards the business. You have to be responsible for paying yourself.
Yeah. Well, and enjoying your life is going to help you have a flourishing business because especially in the fitness industry, it very much is a lifestyle type of career where your whole life kind of centers around it. And so making sure that your life is fitting for you and enjoyable will attract more people to you. If you are a happy, positive, healthy person who's passionate and feels good about how much money they're making. I'm just fixing my shades here because I'm like turning pink. Then it does work as a marketing scheme, really. And I'm not saying like go get a pedicure every week or anything like that, but just make sure you're taking care of yourself, like Erin said, and also to keep one of my favorite tactics, to feel more financially secure is to have an IRA, retirement fund, or some type of savings account. Because when you're having a slow week or things aren't going the way you want, one thing I do is I open up my retirement account, take a look at it, and I'm like, all right, I'm okay. Like,
doing all right.
I have this money here that's growing. And so it's really, when you talk about paying yourself, I feel like that's part of paying yourself because you are putting money into all these different things, and putting some money aside for the future can be really smart and a really good way to keep your emotions secure around finances, your emotional financial health, where it's like, all right, you know what, I'm going to be all right here because I've been putting this money away. And then when you have months where you're making tons of money, you can, put some aside in a fund or something.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea to plan for the future. And I also think, unfortunately, as business owners, we do have a tax consequence. There's a decent chunk that Uncle Sam likes to take from us every year, and it's depressing. Like it's a lot. It can seem like a lot, but then you're also not an employer, so you're not paying payroll, you're not paying into Social Security. So you as the business owner have to do that. So that has to come out of whatever you're making. So one thing I like to do is set aside a certain percentage from every chunk of income that I get as like, I'm going to take off 20% right off the top. Yeah. And I'm going to pretend I didn't even earn it. Because technically, even though I did, it's going to go to somebody else. And that's just something you've got to know. And so I think budgeting can help you with understanding those tax responsibilities as a single, LLC or sole proprietorship or whatever, that you're not technically an employer. that's paying payroll. If you don't have people on payroll, you're not going to pay into those government funds, FICA and whatever else.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just threw a blog up in the comments about taxes as well. So this all just really ties into this bigger financial picture and money. And it's a perfect time of year to talk about it because we're 6 months into the year, and you might have set some goals in January, and are those goals coming to fruition? Are you making as much money as you wanted? If you're not, it might be time, instead of taking another like kettlebell class or like learning about whatever, it may be time to spend a little time learning about money and getting caught up on it. There's lots of resources out there, and there's a lot of ways to budget. And most financial planners will give you a free consult where you can come in and they'll help you make a budget, and they'll just sit down with you and go over everything. And I'm going to throw this quote up that Billy had. It says, "A budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went." And so we have to start by looking at where it is going and where it went, so to speak. And then we can start redirecting it in the direction that we want to go. Just like when you look at someone's health goals, like what are your habits and how can we guide some of those habits in a different direction? It's the same exact thing.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I love any quote by Dave Ramsey. He's a financial genius. If you don't know who he is, you should. He also has another quote about live like no one else today so you can live like no one else someday. Mm-hmm. And he's not talking about restricting and, eating canned peas for every meal. Like, he's not talking about things like that. He's simply talking about having a money mindset that allows you financial security and freedom for later years. Yeah. And just being mindful of how you spend the resources that you're earning. Because it's not free money. You work for that. Yeah. So, I mean, at least I know I work really hard. And sometimes when I get a check, I'm all, wow, I really, you work hard for it. So make sure that you're funneling that money towards things that are going to help your business grow. Yeah. And you do have to reinvest. And maybe that looks somewhat like, a better marketing scheme. Maybe it's hiring someone to redo your website or to create it, or, do some sort of rebranding. All of that helps to grow the business. So there is some money you have to dump back in so that it can grow. And then ultimately you can have a greater return on that investment.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just like we've said already, everyone has habits, and you're helping your clients with their habits. And sometimes you need to help yourself with your own habits. And we all have habits around money. They start when we're young and they come from many places. And sometimes you need to just take a look at those habits, take a look in the mirror and make a choice for the future. And I feel like what you focus on grows. And so if you focus on your money, it will grow. And that may sound a little like out there, but I feel like it's true. When you give that money some love, one of my favorite speakers, Marie Forleo, says, if she sees a penny on the ground, she picks it up because she wants to have respect for money. It's like, she's like, not because I'm cheap, but because I'm like, that penny is valuable. I'm going to pick it up because that's my mindset around money. I want to make sure the money knows that I like it so much that I'm going to pick a penny up off the ground, even though penny doesn't buy anything. She's like, it's just that mindset, like that relationship you have with money. Basically, you want to have a healthy relationship with money, just like having a healthy relationship with your body.
Yeah, no, I think that makes complete sense. And I think if budgeting is a topic that is overwhelming or intimidating, or maybe you just don't know that much about it, I would highly recommend setting aside some time to take a continuing ed course in business. Small business management, entrepreneurship can look like anything, titled anything, but it could be of great value just to learn the basics of budgeting and how you can go about setting it up. Yeah.
Or go do a free consult with a financial planner, or spend whatever money it is, or do a trade. You do a training session with them and they give you a session. I did that with a financial planner like 10 years ago. And it was one of the best things I did because it really just got my mindset in the right place. And so here I am now 10, 15 years later, feeling a lot more comfortable than I would have if I didn't. And so, all right, well, we're going to wrap it up. If you have any questions or comments, we always welcome those. If you found this show to be beneficial, please share it on social media. And we will be here again next week with episode 47. I think, are we doing a roundup next week maybe?
Think so. I don't know.
Definitely a little disorganized today, but
Yeah.
that's just how it is sometimes.
It's life. It's life.
Let me see if I can find it. April, May, no, we're in June. June. Yeah, we're going to do a roundup. So next week we're going to talk about some of the blogs, and we're just going to chit chat about what's on our blog. So come and join us. And then instead of having to read all the blogs, we're going to bring the best straight to you on the show.
Yep. We're going to summarize it.
We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.